On this day, the shadow of a brilliant engineer, an obsessed madman, floated across West Michigan, the dunes, then over Lake Michigan, the same cold waters where his dream had rested, deferred for 120 years. The flight on October 30th, 2013 was dedicated to the man who conceived of it. This is his story. This is the true story of Hammond VanOcher.
There's so much we don't know about VanOcher. I examined records from the Royal Indian Engineering College, and his name appeared quite frequently. He was notable.
To begin Hammond VanOcher's story, we must start long after he lived. It is the second decade of the new millennium. In Grand Rapids, Michigan, a team of artists and engineers are inspired by the steampunk aesthetic, a genre of art and literature that emphasizes technological and social aspects of the 19th century. Anachronistic technology, steam-powered machinery, leather, metal. These are steampunk. The team is looking for a steampunk project on a grand scale. They find it someplace entirely unexpected.
We read about some divers off the coast of Wisconsin checking out a shipwreck, and they had brought up some jugs, which at first were kind of like, well, what's that all about? Was there moonshine on the boat, or it wasn't that interesting. But one of the jugs was corked with a wood plug, and so that one was of interest to us.
Captain Dan Johnson discovered the lumberman.
The schooner Lumberman sank April 6, 1893 in a fierce storm off of Racine, Wisconsin. The Lumberman, when it sank, was on its way to Kewanee, Wisconsin. In Kewanee, Wisconsin, they were going to pick up a load of lumber and head back to Chicago. About 1 o'clock in the afternoon, a storm blew, and they had too much canvas out, and the canvas allowed the wind to blow it over, and when it sank, it went down in minutes. The jug was hidden down below in the captain's cabin, and we couldn't figure out why the jug was down in the cabin, because typically they would have had the moonshine jugs in the galley. But we found this plug on the inside. The plug was actually made of wood instead of cork. Usually a plug like this is used for sealing leaks in the hull.
So they pop open this jug. It's got this old nasty cork in there, and they pull the cork out, and there's the rolled up set of schematic drawings, really detailed drawings, some kind of...
Some sort of an airship, maybe some sort of blimp.
He had signed the bottom left-hand corner, and his first name was clear. It was Hammond, but his last name was smudged, so we couldn't really read it. It was VanOcher, Van Oder, Van Osterizer, VanOcher.
A Google search revealed one reference to Hammond VanOcher and the one historian who had studied him.
There's so much we don't know about VanOcher. We know he had a speech impediment. A lisp, a stutter, it's unclear. He preferred to write in his journals rather than speaking publicly. Maybe that's why history forgot him. However, I examined records from the Royal Indian Engineering College, and his name appeared quite frequently. He was notable.
Come now, VanOcher. Shy like a maiden. If you don't know the answer, say so.
You miscalculation. Try it now.
The error was intentional to see if you could find it. Well done.
VanOcher visited Scotland, where steam-powered plows were transforming 2,000 acres of useless moors into this viable farmland. He was obsessed with steam power. He wanted to see how the experiment was progressing. That's where he met pigs, and another obsession was born.
Magnificent creatures. Superior in intelligence to horse, cow, sheep. Not dirty, although so maligned. Waddles in mud to cool. No more bacon. Ham, only on Christmas and Easter. Note, pig's design similar to dirigible.
His first name being Hammond, Ham, family name purely coincidence.
All right, the really big moment was when Dr. Peel had explained to us what had happened to VanOcher's senior project.
The interesting thing is that Crittenden's letters and VanOcher's journals told virtually the same story, albeit from their own viewpoints. This was a turning point for VanOcher.
The plans. My senior project.
A dirigible. Flight is a fool's errand, VanOcher. And what's the power? A pedal like that fool Pompey and Pirot?
Steam.
Steam? Giffard failed in 52.
Giffard's engine was too heavy.
Marriott then, in the States, 69. Unmanned, led around by ropes. It barely reached 5 miles per hour. Is that your inspiration?
Only for what not to do.
Steam will never... Wait a minute. Is this a pig? It is! It's got a snout and a tail!
Improved design, not completely elliptical. Larger the head, compressed at the tail.
But it's still a pig! I can hear the D. Royal Indian Engineering College, home of the hovering hog.
Hammond, hovering hog.
I'm reminded of a quote in Lewis Carroll's recent work, Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. You have as much right to build a flying pig as pigs have to fly.
The idiom, when pigs fly, has murky origins. Lewis Carroll's use in 1865 may have been the first time the phrase was in print, describing something that would never happen. Perhaps it was not yet a tired cliché when VanOcher heard it some 15 years later.
Splendid! I foresee completion by autumn then.
It shall not fly! Not as long as I am department chairman. Here is your choice. You will build a civic project, such as a sewer system or a bridge.
Or what?
Or your education here is done. You've completed your courses. All that's left is your thesis.
But without a thesis, I cannot graduate. Fine. I do not need your diploma or your doubt. One day I'll show the world that a pig can fly.
By 1887, VanOcher was in Paris, assisting Gustave Eiffel with his commission for the 1889 Universal Exposition. VanOcher found a kindred spirit in Eiffel, whose tower was publicly scorned.
The Committee of 300 wrote in the articles that the tower is a gigantic black smokestack of barbaric pulp and a hateful column of twisted sheet metal. I feel sorry for the committee. They live in a world devoid of elegance, imagination, and ambition. Perhaps they would be happier in England. Oh, it's a brilliant defense, my friend. And look, they printed the whole article. But you signed it anonymous. Well, why hide?
In time, people will know my name.
Perhaps. You know, it was your work on the wind with the arches and the behavior that will make the tower withstand gusts 5 times what has been previously recorded. Look, wind is my next project. You must stay.
No, let's go to America. Display my masterpiece.
Yes, you'll see the Columbian Exposition. Have they chosen a city?
They're considering New York, St. Louis, Washington, and Chicago.
Do not buy the ticket for Chicago. It stinks of the slaughterhouses and is a cesspool of crime. And could you imagine if a cow kicked over another lantern? Now, New York, that is a city worthy of a fair. And furthermore, I think that...
But VanOcher did get that ticket. Powerful lobbying, the wind of the Windy City, secured Chicago's bid. Guided by architectural mastermind Daniel Burnham, the fair would transform Chicago's image from a polluted, dangerous metropolis to a shimmering white city of beauty, order, and innovation. 14 main buildings in Beaux-Arts style, lagoons and waterways, entire native towns transplanted from exotic lands, new taste treats. When it came to a centerpiece, the Americans wanted to out-Eiffel Eiffel. Burnham challenged local engineers to design something amazing.
Make no little plans, my friends.
We used to have a Saturday afternoon club, chiefly engineers of the World's Fair. It was at one of those dinners down in a Chicago chow house that I hit on the idea. I remember remarking that I would build a wheel, a monster.
They call it a triumph of engineering.
This is what's going to attract people to the fair.
If you will invest in my project, I firmly believe
It is a disgrace. A pig will never fly.
it will fly because the engine thing here, the boiler,
It will never take
this
off.
here is an abomination.
The Ferris wheel.
A big wheel. There's wheels on every carriage from here to Bangkok.
VanOcher helped Ferris with his Ferris wheel. He gave him important advice on how to keep the main steel axle from collapsing under the weight of this huge wheel. He wanted to hold on to VanOcher, keep him on his team. He even said, hey, we'll call it the Ferris-VanOcher wheel. And VanOcher was not interested.
Wheels go round.
And that's
Obviously,
it.
my
That
design
entirely-
is destined
That is
to be a
entirely,
success.
and it just spins and spins.
It's a wheel.
There's
It's
nothing.
designed to spin.
This can
The
take...
Ferris wheel is the way of the future and the future of entertainment.
I call it a trifle. Stays on the ground, spinning in a circle. With the power of steam, Parsifal the Steampig could conquer the skies.
But the power of steam could not keep VanOcher fed, clothed, and safe. He took the first job he could get at a slaughterhouse operated by one Felix Baumgartner.
Baumgartner, have you had a chance to see my plans for Ferris Fall? I would do anything to get you to invest. I would work a triple in this miserable den of Hammond ceremony.
My friend, down in the jowls? Too many hours on the butt end? Would a move to the ribs cheer you?
The only thing that would cheer me is Paris Fall. Imagine less than everyone else. Gaze upward at her wonder, the Columbian Exposition.
You do realize that it's going to cost a pretty pound of pork.
I've spoken to Ferris about it.
Ferris? That wheel-making loon?
Yes, well, with Paris Fall, he can't quite conceive this project.
So Ferris is in on this?
Yeah, Ferris knows all about it.
VanOcher's journals from this era are in the private collection of Baumgartner's great-granddaughter, Mrs. Loretta Baumgartner Smith.
Mr. VanOcher convinced my great-grandfather that he should squat in one of the empty warehouses, which he did. And he lived there, and he worked on his invention. In fact, he completed a working model of his invention. So my great-grandfather brought in some rich investors to watch how this thing worked. Maybe they could fund the project.
A few minor recalculations.
Boy, those fat bastards are short-sighted. They're not thinking too wisely, are they? Lucky for you, I'm in your corner.
Yes, well, the burner just isn't supplying enough heat. It needs at least 3 thermic units per cubic foot of power. The gondola can only hold up to 3 passengers.
Not necessary. It's not necessary. Here's the plan. We stuff Piggy with pork bites, wrapped in Baumgartner paper. And at a certain time of day, the Piggy opens up and shoots out pork bites. Is it manna from heaven? No. It's a gift. It's a flying swine carrying a flag that says, "Brought to you by Baumgartner." Let's walk it down!
It will be 3 decades before the world saw the first blimp used for advertising purposes. It could be said then that both Baumgartner and VanOcher were ahead of their time. That, however, is where any similarity ends.
What do you think, boy?
I'm not sure how the steam will react with the meat.
Well, it'll just cook it better, boy.
No. That is too small. First of all, it is more than a pork shitting ship.
It is my money,
It is my plan. Either we do it my way, or your pig is grounded, boy. Grounded.
VanOcher's last journal entry says, "The lumberman, Kawani." On the journey, I shall refine my design for the boiler. The lumberman was bound for Wisconsin to pick up lumber. This may be why VanOcher stowed away on the schooner. He needed wood, because after VanOcher rejected Baumgartner, a mysterious fire burned Parsifal's wooden ears and snout.
Damn you, Low-Rent Lake Michigan pirates! Your villainy succeeded only by your stupidity, robbing a ship in a store!
I'm not here to jail!
Oh, well then, drink yourself senseless to that!
Captain, where is the
The captain and the first mate and a sailor, on the way up, they shimmied up the mast, they got up on the spars. The captain nearly drowned. He did get caught in the rigging on the way up. Down in the captain's cabin was a .22 caliber revolver. 2 cartridges were spent, and it was found in the firing position.
I can't lie, who knows, it's possible maybe VanOcher survived.
Well, I heard from a cousin who heard from his father, who heard from his great-uncle, that my great-grandfather suddenly has these ideas that he wants to build this pig blimp. He returned to the warehouse to look for VanOcher, but all that was left behind was this journal.
Indeed, nobody knows if VanOcher was on the fair's midway on June 21st, 1893, when the Ferris wheel opened for business. Was he among the throng of 2,000 people who attended opening ceremonies at 3 p.m.? Did he see Ferris blow a golden whistle to signal the first turn of the axle? Did he hear the big brass band playing My Country 'Tis of Thee as their car rose 150 feet in the air?
He took the name Parsifal from the Wagner opera. There is a biographer who has written about Wagner and has said the production stress of putting on the opera Parsifal led to the death of Wagner. I mean, after all, it was his last opera, and it's 5.5 hours long. That is a lot of opera. Mr. Ferris of Ferris wheel fame? He died a year or 2 after the fair. Typhoid fever, I think. Bankrupt and alone. Now, if you ask me, and you didn't, but if you did ask me, I would say it's a curse.
In 1933, George and William Bessler would fly the world's first steam-powered airplane. Its secret? A super-efficient boiler that released as much as 3 million British thermal units per cubic foot of firebox space. Far more powerful than anything known to date. VanOcher had designed such a boiler, but nobody saw them at the bottom of Lake Michigan. And VanOcher did not possess one thing the Bessler brothers did.
electricity. The Besla brothers used an electric blower to blow heat through a 500-foot pipe coiled in the boiler. VanOcher writes, with a constant source of power, the boiler will be powerful and efficient. Find this source of energy, and Parsifal shall fly. You have so many outside interests who are telling you how you can't do something, and then when you really put your mind to it, and you've got a great team alongside you. We had a team of 25 people, builders from all trades. When you think that you cannot do this and you keep looking at it and wondering if you can, and then when you finally see it done, it's a pretty magical moment. And I can only imagine that VanOcher was wondering if he was able to do this and if he doubted himself as much as we did.
"120 years after the World's Columbian exhibition closed, the team departed for the last place where Hammond VanOcher was ever seen, the eastern coast of Wisconsin. Perhaps his spirit would fly alongside his Parsifal.
Steampig warning for the equatorial regions of Thraxis Prime. Steampig is active in your area. Please contact Home Fleet Command Channel 9 Alpha Victor Tango.
The captain took a shot just before flight, gears turning inside the ship's body. Constellations of ancient ones greeted the night, and the crew saluted them boldly. In darkness, the switch flip sounds the engine's harmonious scream. In the night sky, guns blazing, almighty empowered by steam. Powered by steam. Now we own the sky in our perfectly crafted machine, guided by ancient tongues